Good morning, Service Alliance community. How
Good
y'all
morning.
doing today?
I keep wanting to fast forward through the intro because when you watch it, tap 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 tap.
Yeah,
You
I'm all
do.
screwed up this week. Having extra day in there threw me off. I just got a message from Travis, so we'll see if he joins us. He was gonna. There he is. There he is. I was just mentioning that you were gonna come on. I'm all screwed up this week having the extra day. I just like, oh yeah, Travis is gonna be on with me today. Totally forgot about that.
It's a week, man. Like it's been a week, that's for sure.
You meant an
Nice
extra
breath.
day of broadcasting because I didn't get an extra day this week. Boy, would I have loved one.
Well, I picked up for a TK because he's out of town enjoying the principal that we're talking about today. A little bit of R&R with the family, and so I picked up the extra day. And I was telling Andrew in the pre-roll, this is a crazy week for me. Yesterday and today are like insane days. It's back to 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 back, like recordings, meetings, all this stuff because everyone has decided, hey, let's get everything in before the holiday. Well, what gets done gets done, and what doesn't.
Exactly. And that's a good motto for techs too. You know, got to go one call at a time, especially on a busy day, because then you just start really snowballing and screwing stuff up. And that's what young techs don't realize. You know, they see, oh, I got 8 calls on my list, and maybe their first call took them a little bit longer, you know, and they're freaking out the rest of the day. And it's like, man, a customer could cancel in the middle of the day. Like, why stress yourself out? One call at a time. You'll get it done. You know, don't freak out and rush on a call and then you start having recalls.
Yeah, that's a good principle. I was reading through one of my books right before we got started. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, EJ. What's up, Kyle? How you doing?
I found over the years that if I do get behind, the best technique for me is to calm down, breathe, look at what's going on, and then if you feel like you have to call somebody and let them know, you're far better off just to call and say, "Hey, I'm running behind. I might be a little late today." And I swear, normally they're like, "Yeah, no problem, cool." And if they're not, then you figure it out and you call the next person and say, "Hey, would you mind if I move your appointment to this appointment so that I can get things back in order?" And they're like, "Yeah, no big deal."
It was
Especially
always
when so many people are working from home still, people don't mind you being a little late as long as you have an open communication with them.
yeah, the open
Yeah, just
communication is
don't.
key. It's always what I encourage my team. Like if you get behind, if something happens, if something goes wrong, whatever, call the office. If you need the office to call the next customer or whatever, or text the office, whatever. Just make sure the lines of communication are open. If we don't know, we don't know. We can't help you if we don't know. So
Yeah, just don't call 10 minutes after 10 minutes to go when their window's about to end. To reschedule or push them back a little bit. Like you knew you were running behind way earlier in the day. Just give them a heads up on it. It's not the hugest deal. Stuff happens. Normally people understand that. Like, hey, I had a call that snowballed, or I got a lot of traffic I'm going through today. Like it's making me run behind. Not a big gig.
well, this is going to be a good topic. I'll pray us in, and Andrew, you actually grabbed a scripture for us and brought a topic for us, and I'm looking forward to chatting about this a little more. So I'll pray us in real quick, and we'll get rolling. Dear Father, we just we thank you for this time. We thank you for this chance to gather together. We pray for those out there running service calls. We pray for those backing us up at the office. And Father, we just pray that you would open our hearts, open our minds today, that we would love you, love others, and just take care of people today. Father, we just thank you for another day and another opportunity to do that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. We've been talking about retention and culture and how to keep employees happy quite a bit lately. And we often forget because we're pushing so hard to work, but part of keeping happy is maybe not working sometimes. That's what I had kind of thought about is push when you can, but when you don't have to, maybe calm down for a second. And I think you might need some of that, right, Zach? You're taking a vacation next week, aren't you?
Yeah, we're in. It's like more of a staycation. The in-laws have a little trailer.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's a trailer that lives permanently at a campground, and it's about 90 minutes away with no cell phone service. It's fantastic.
Yeah, TK's doing that river trip this week. I did. It wasn't camping so much, but quite a bit of hiking last week. We all have our downtime that we really enjoy. What do you do, Travis?
Same thing. Spend time with family. Like about a month ago, we went and took off to the beach. Just to chill and relax and get away from it all. There's definitely burnout in this industry. You gotta take your time. To yourself, to your family. You have to live. It's not all about work. Gotta keep all the family happy and spend time with them because you can get really, really busy in this industry. So
this all comes from Mark, chapter 6, verse 31. It says, "And he said to them, 'Come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest for a while. For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat.'" That's a little dramatic for us today. We probably get time to eat, even though often we talk about, I don't have time for a lunch break. Yeah, I don't buy that for most guys. We all stop and get a roller dog or something, bring a Pop-Tart with us or anything. But that's where this topic comes from, was no leisure even to eat. I brought it up to a bunch of people last night, and golf was a common answer, but the biggest answer was family. Everybody takes that for granted, that family is leisure time. Family, spend time with your family, your kids, your wife, your mom, your dad, your sisters, brothers.
Yeah, time is it's so important. It took me a long time. I grew up a small farm family, and so we spent a lot of time working, but it wasn't a full farm, right? So there was never that quote unquote off season. Like I'd see my cousins go through it where they have a little bit of off season. They go snowmobiling or they go up to Canada, go fishing or whatever, right? Like, so they would actually get off time. Our off time was like, all right, you get to work some more. You know what I mean? So I carried that into my adulthood, and it took me a long time to really. I think I had 2 vacations in 10 years or 12 years, something crazy like that, right? Like, and one of them was our honeymoon. So like it was a hard principle for me to learn, and I'll probably bring it up later, but one of the books that I'm reading is At Your Best by Carrie, and I can't even pronounce that last name. I'll drop a link. Nia Wolf or whatever. Anyway, he talks about a lot of our discontent comes from how we spend our on time. Actually, it's not so much that we need the off time. We do, right? Like Jesus tells us, you need time off, like you need time away. Even he took time away. But a lot of our frustration comes in how we spend our on time. But I'm curious
about being panicked because that first call went a little too long, right? That can make your whole day a little bit tougher. So that on time got stressful. It made your whole day a little more stressful. I think we're part of the lucky crowd, though. Still, I don't know. You are now, Zach. You are part of the lucky crowd because you love what you do. It might not be applying today, but when you love what you do, it makes it a lot easier to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who doesn't like to not be stuck in an office? Get to drive around, meet new people, be in nice homes. For the most part, the customers are extremely nice, and you get to put a smile on their, face. At the end of the day, I'm fixing their appliance. So I love this industry. The service industry is amazing.
It's all like, how you view it too, right? I mean, like that's the perspective that you should carry through. If that's and I know I'm not the only one that's had the wrong perspective, so that's why I say it as a warning. Look at the way that Travis is looking at it. Like that's the model of the way that you should look at service industry. And if you're not, you got to begin to ask yourself some questions like, what's going on in me, right? I love that perspective, Travis. I love the way you look at it.
Yeah, I let my techs know that too. Like, don't let the 1% of the bad apples, ruin it, for the many of great customers that we have. Everyone's going to deal with the cranky customers, but they could be having something going on in their life, at that time, and why they're so upset that was like the last straw that and their appliance failed or their fridge failed and all their food went bad and they're just stressed and pissed off. Like Monday, I had an amazing customer that's been a repeat customer that's used us plenty of times. But Monday was a very hard day for me because my middle son broke his leg Sunday night. So I did not sleep hardly at all. Sunday night, my wife and I kind of, went back and forth, and took care of him because he did not sleep because he was in so much pain after going to the ER and all that stuff. But my Monday list, Mondays are always crazy busy. I could not take off Monday. It was just impossible. I had an AC coil change and she was the last call on my list. And it's like, I just wanted so much to just reschedule that, but I knew I couldn't, so I powered through my list. I finally got to my last call, coil change out like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is like a 2-hour job, a little bit over that. Customer is just so nice that, I still went out there, got her fixed and all of that. We were chit-chatting back and forth, because I've been to her house a few times, on appliances too. But whenever I got back home, she sent me, a $50, gift card, to, take out food and stuff like that and said, I'm praying for you. I hope your boy, feels better. It's like, that's what it's all about. That just gave me the best feeling, like she didn't have to go over and beyond, but just that personal connection that you can get sometimes with your customers is just an amazing feeling that you just don't get on other jobs,
Service industry in general can have that happen to you because you are helping, and that that tip was probably nothing to her, but it meant a lot to you. So that's pretty cool that you got that. So not just vacations, but I find that downtime in the middle of the day helps me release as well. Probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, I started with solitaire, just sitting back and playing a game of solitaire while I, got gas or whatever it was and hung out at the gas station for just a few extra minutes. And then I realized, wow, this is about 10 minutes every day that I'm just sitting here for about 10 minutes and playing solitaire. But then my day was so much better. I realized that it was actually a big deal that helped quite a bit. Do you guys have any midday lull kind of things?
I don't, but
Guilty.
that's a very good idea. Normally I like power through my day, so, but no, that is a very good idea, especially on these long, stressful days and stuff like that, just to kick back and chill. It's definitely helpful. And that's definitely gonna be helpful. That's a great idea.
It is. It's a good way to do it. So since I made the switch, I actually, well, I'll share the passage real quick, and then I'll kind of follow along where you're going. So a passage from the book. Some hours will produce better results for you than others, and focusing your time means treat those hours differently. And through that, you'll discover much higher levels of productivity than you're used to. So one of the things that I learned in my life is that, like, I am super productive, and today's a hard day because yesterday was leg day. So getting up after leg day it's a little worse. I'm a little slower. But I've determined that, like, for me personally, and I don't encourage everyone to do this, you got to find your own rhythm. And I think this is kind of where Andrew's going with this. I get up at 4:30 in the morning, and dude, I am so productive between 4:30 and 6:30. Like, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. You may not be, but I am. I get a ton of work done between 4:30 and 6:30. And if I'm not up then, it throws me off, right? Like, I don't get I don't get as much done. I don't feel as productive the rest of the day, right? That's me. Andrew, 10 minutes of solitaire in the middle of the day, right? Like it refuels you. It helps you to find that refocus that you need, and then recharges you to be productive for the rest of the day. And so that's what I was kind of sharing about earlier. Like, it's how we spend our on time, right? So many times we get so focused on like the minutia or letting other people run it. Like we feel the pressure of that, like Travis was saying, that 1% of customers, right? That just like, well, like we let that drive us instead of sticking to the rhythm that we know, hey, you know what? It's going to be okay. I'm going to process through this service call, and then I'm going to move on to the next service call. Or if you're a CSR, I'm going to handle this customer and I'm going to show them love the best way that I can. And I'm going to move on to the next one. You're a plumber, and I'm going to unclog this toilet. You know what I mean? Like you find that rhythm instead of letting external factors push you and drive you. I love that, Andrew. 10 minutes of solitaire in the middle of the day.
You'll often get
it's all we need.
Right? It's why would you waste 10 minutes doing that? And it's not wasting. It's on me. That's me spending 10 minutes, not $10, not $100. 10 minutes of my day was spent on me, and it really does help quite a bit. EJ said that he likes to do it so that he can catch up on emails and stuff like that. I try to just zone out, like, listen to something on the radio and just literally just chill out. I do have another 10 minutes for catching up with emails and stuff, but
well, and that's time blocking, right? Like that time blocking, and again, that goes to the on time, right? Like, and then there are those moments of off time. People think I'm crazy because I love to run, and I've also developed this unhealthy obsession with riding a bike. I've done over 100 miles this month to the point that I need new tires. I shared a picture on my personal page last night. There's no rubber left in the center. Like the tread is on the outside, but there's nothing left in the center. I've done so many miles on the bike, but I digress. For me, it is my off time, right? If I go out and run, so when I go and run, I don't listen to a podcast anymore. I used to be like my brain time, right? Like where I would spend that time growing. Now if I'm riding a bike, that's when I use the brain time. But run time, that's my time to recharge, like you said, and zone out. I'll turn on some good tunes and I just start running, and I find that I can solve problems that I didn't know that I had in that zone out time. I think you're right with that, Andrew, where like it needs to be off, like off in those moments so that you can really refuel. I'm sure you have time like that, Travis. Do you have time where you just like zone out of stuff at all?
Don't tell me it's on the toilet, right?
No, I mean, mine is really just honestly like just getting home. My struggle is, just trying not to work such a long day. Like I'm an early riser. My kids are early risers. It's 6 o'clock right now, Mountain Time. So I get up 5:30, 6 o'clock, normally somewhere right around there. Don't even need an alarm clock, but my body's just up, ready for the day. And a little bit of it is just downtime with my kids, that I just get to spend. My wife's still sleeping at that time, so it's just me and normally at least one of my kiddos, where we just get a good one-on-one time. Probably going to hit you up on that lunch break, taking a little bit longer. Normally I just power through just because, I have a different model on my work that I kind of have a question for you guys too. That's also about downtime. But my days are typically a little bit longer where I'm getting home at 6:30 sometimes. I try to have earlier days, but sometimes it just flows into that's about the normal time that I get home, and just get to relax. So Normally I don't try to take off, like a huge lunch, because that just pushes my end time, a little bit later. I just want to get home and spend time with the kiddos. But question that I have with you guys on downtime is, how many days a week do you guys work? Andrew, I know that you just opened up your business, and that's, busy, and sometimes that like takes a lot of time to get that puppy going, and you want to take every single service call and work and take care of all your customers. And if it's just you, it kind of sometimes can snowball where you're working almost every day.
I'm working almost every day. I mean, Saturdays and Sundays, there's still something to do. But I'm only running service calls 5 days a week currently. I've had to pick up a couple on Saturdays, but it's not been full days. It's only been a couple of jobs. But typically it's based on 5 days a week, and then that 20, 30 minutes that you spend on Saturday or Sunday is still there to, just make sure that everything's rocking and rolling. Check tracking and stuff like that sometimes.
I work 7 days a week. But I'm very intentionally time blocked with what I do, right? So I have certain days for certain things, certain times for certain things. And so I very intentionally spend my on time. But that also means that when I go and unplug, like next weekend, yeah, there'll be, I'll have some posts, I'll have some client support and stuff like that I have to do. But, it's so minimal in those moments that I can still enjoy that off time, right? Where before, it was 60, 80, 100 hours a week. Even when I was off, I was on. I had done, that's why I didn't like commercial. I did commercial for a while, and there was just never downtime, never done. Because, man, when that cooler breaks, your butt better be there, right? And so, like, that just stressed me out so much. And I spent, done a lot of different jobs, but I spent a lot of years on call too. And so trying to break some of those bad habits from on call, I like what EJ said, right? Like he makes a route for his techs, and he leaves an hour gap somewhere in the middle of the day, so they have that intentional time to catch up. Now they follow what Travis and I would do, power right through it. But being intentional about having that time is so important, right? Alex, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, weekends are for family. And I really follow that too. Like, there's certain things that I just will not do on the weekend. If it's client support or something that's just, 10-minute phone conversation here and there, and like, I don't mind that. Our lives are very much scheduled around that. But yeah, if your service, man, take those weekends and be intentional about spending more time with the family. Or, for you, like Travis, right? You said like the morning, that's the rhythm where you get to spend a little time with the kiddos. Like, I guess the most important part in what I'm saying is figure out what your rhythm is and follow that rhythm. Like, embrace that rhythm. Don't do, like I said earlier, I get up at 4:30 in the morning. Andrew does not want to get up at 4:30 in the morning. Travis gets up at 5:30 in the morning, right? Like, but these are each of our rhythms, maybe not your rhythm, right? But find your rhythm and lock into it. Oh my gosh, you're going to feel so much better once you do find your rhythm.
I'm pretty good about 6:30, 6 o'clock most mornings. So, it's still relatively early, but 4:30 is a little much.
Some people want to roll out of bed at 7:45 and then hit the road, half asleep still, and hey, that works too. You just have to find and stick to that schedule. Like, another option, and I think I brought it up last week a little bit, is I only do a 4-day service week. And I try to stick to that as best as possible. My technicians 100% do, just because that's what they do on their schedule. Being a business owner, you have other stuff to do too. And that's why I wanted to drop down to 4 days of service. And then that fifth day, I take my Thursdays off. I get to spend some extra time with my wife, and then also kind of catch up just on some office work and just make sure that my CSR has everything handled for the week. There's nothing slipping through the cracks or anything like that. But it gives more downtime. My technicians love it, doing 4 days of a little bit longer. It's honestly, it's a little bit more productive because you're cramming in a schedule, where your schedule, you're having a little bit more calls to do. It's a little bit longer of a day, but productivity wise, it's almost cheaper to run the business, that way. Just because you're already in a route, if you add a call or two, it's really not, creating a whole nother schedule for a fifth day. My technicians love it because they get 3 days off to do whatever they want to decompress and then to come back, strong for the whole week. And how I do it is I have one technician that's Monday through Thursday, and then I have another that's Wednesday through Saturday. So we're open 6 days a week. And then I do myself where I'm Monday through Wednesday, I take Thursday off, and then I work on Friday. So my week's kind of split up, which I like because it makes my week kind of go by a little bit quicker. Like, Thursday's getting close, my day's going to be off, and then I just have to go back on Friday for 1 day, which is like big whoop, I get that hammered out, easily. So that's an option for you guys too. Just find whatever works best and run with it. But you need to take that time off. You can't be going, you're going to burn yourself out if you're going to be going 7 days a week, Zach, on certain stuff.
Again, it's a totally different type of work, right? Like for me, typically the weekends they're going to be client support. And so client support is just this, it's having conversation with people. It's living life with people. We have some cookouts coming up, right? So that's technically work, but it's not work, right? Like it's living life with people. And so for me, that career shift was like, it fit my rhythm of life, right? Like that's what I enjoy, connecting with people. I enjoy, getting to do stuff like this, hanging out in the morning with you guys, right? And having conversations. So that's what's important to me. That's what I value. And so, when I go and spend an hour on the bike, or I go and spend 45 minutes on a run, right? Like that recharges me just as much as if I was to take all of Saturday off. I do end up with that because it's very intentional time every day. Again, that's finding your rhythm and working to your rhythm. I still get to spend an hour or two with my kid in the morning. Like the days that I'm on the grind, it's a little bit harder, but most days, like I get to spend an hour or two with my kid in the morning and just hang out and have fun. I posted about that yesterday. You got to find the rhythm that just works for you, and just you'll feel it. You'll lock into it, and it'll be good,
So I did do a survey on half a dozen people yesterday, and everybody's first answer was family. But can either of you guess who plays Dungeons and Dragons on a weekly basis? Nope. Okay. I'm not going to say their name, but if you could guess, I'd give it up. I thought that was fantastic. But board games are a big part of our lives. We play a lot of board games. Do you guys play board games at all with your kids, or?
We played. She got a game for a very, very late birthday present from my sister, Quirkle, or something like that. It's like Dominoes meets something else. We'll do stuff like that. She has fun with that, She's
we have a
little
whole
too young for board games.
An entire wall full of shelves just stacked with games, like probably 15 feet wide by 8 feet tall. Just tons of games. Doug says he goes on midnight viewings at the theater with his kids, and they do game nights too. Midnight viewing. Would you stay up to go to a midnight program at the movie theater?
I'm in bed by 10. I'm a pumpkin if it's past 10 o'clock.
I fall asleep through every movie I watch anyway, so that'd be wasted on me.
I'm just glad
that's our rhythm though. My wife goes to work at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah?
So like for us, that early morning rhythm, and then we're in bed at night, like that rhythm just works for us. We take time outside, like going to the camper. We'll go on a bunch of walks with the kiddo. She loves that. Like, she loves doing that kind of thing. We have a lot of trails by us, and so like we can go and the kid can ride the bike as we go and take a family walk or something. Like that kind of stuff is important.
Reading at
My
bedtime.
kiddos are too young.
Are they? They're not. I'll tell you, you're the one that needed to get in the habit, not the kid. And it is a fantastic habit to get into.
I would like to get them into it. They're 6, 4, and 3, and they're wild.
Perfect.
So having a small board game, we've tried it, and they get over it fast. And like, let's go outside and play and run and get energy out and get them stuck in something. Hey, my 6-year-old, him and I can play tic-tac-toe. That's about all that he gives me on a type of board-ish game, but we'll get there,
My daughter starts making up rules to games, and then all of a sudden the rules change. Same thing. She's 6. I like what you said, Andrew, though, like the reading thing. That's why I have hard stops at 8:00 at night. Like, if we have night meetings, I am off of that meeting at 8:00 because that is our thing. Like, we have that rhythm of we read and we sing a bedtime song, and like we do those things at night together. Like, that's just so important to do. And she'll just go and read by herself, right? But at nighttime, like, that's our time to come together and do the reading. So
she started reading pretty early. Like, was she 3, 4 years old and reading already?
I mean, we would read to her at 1 or 2. Like, we would just she was a colicky kid, so we didn't sleep for 5 years. But it just became part of our rhythm. Like, let's just read and sing to her and see what happens. And then now, like, you can't miss it. Yeah, you can't miss it.
That was a big deal to us. I didn't know how important it was until it was well past. I'm like, I gotta read again. And I'm like, dude, I really want to read to this kid. I want to finish that book. I want. They're so into it. I love watching them listen to it. Because they do calm down. 6, 4, and 3, they actually calm down and they wait for the next word, and then you might take on a new voice and they're like, it really blows their mind, and you accent certain words and they laugh at it, and reading is great.
That was always fun. Like that's actually how we started getting her to settle more, is that when I would read, I would just take on these different characters' voices or whatever. And I'm not great at voices, but I would, just do something. And it was enough that, it would capture her attention at 4 and 5 years old. And she,
Phil Mellenhow plays D&D every week, by the way.
That's not a surprise. That would have,
I wish I could. He's so lucky to have a group of friends that he can sit down with every single week. That's something that I haven't had since high school. And I miss it.
Yeah,
this is the closest I get to a group of friends, to be honest with you.
I got a buddy in Indiana that does that. They get their whole community gets together. They got like 10 or 15 people that get together and play Dungeons and Dragons every week. He just opens up his living room, like one of those, we were talking open floor plans. They got a big open floor plan, and there's like 15 people playing Dungeons and Dragons every week over there. It's crazy.
We started here. My wife was the one that kind of dragged it down. She didn't get into it, but my 10-year-old and 13-year-old, we had a blast. And we played probably, I don't know, 30 hours. And then the wife was finally like, you know what? Let's play something different. Okay.
Oh, man. I love how this discussion just like kind of went there. Hopefully, if you didn't catch stuff as we went through, you go back and you watch it, because there's a lot of different things in here just to spark even ideas in your own life on like, how can I spend some on time? How can I spend some off time? How can I pivot a schedule? Like, I love the 4-day work week, man. Did you take, was that like, who came up with that principle. There was someone that came up with that principle. I read it in a book.
With the right
yeah.
team, that would be awesome. I think you'd have to be able to get the right team to be able to do that, because it would take a little bit of extra discipline.
Yeah, I know like a lot of European countries did it, and that's where I got the idea from it, and I really got it from my brother-in-law that works for us. Like he was just having a lot of burnout, and I could sense that he wasn't as happy, and his recall rate sometime would spike, and I'm like, let's try 4 days. What is it gonna hurt? Like I know why like a lot of businesses are kind of, they don't want to do it because they're like, I got a work vehicle with insurance and all of this. It's only gonna be on the road for 4 days instead of 5 days, but we're just cramming that work into 4 days, to give them that 3 days off, and you're going to work just a little bit longer, like instead of normally like 6 calls a day, I'm having them run 8 calls a day. And we're cramming all the calls, just a little bit more each day, but at the end of the week, the same amount of work is getting done. And it's like, I don't mind that truck sitting for 3 days instead of just 2 days, like Big Book, we're still getting the same amount of calls done, in the week time. And I honestly think it's like, hey, it's less on fuel. It's less of a day for that truck to be, running where it can possibly get in an accident, or having to deal with traffic, for an extra day, and he really, really liked it. And that's now my motto on every person that I hire. It's a 4-day work week. And like right now I'm hiring a technician. I get so many people, on my Facebook posts and stuff like that said, 4-day work week would be amazing, and that was why they applied. So you may even be able to get more talent just because they're tired of the 5th day. And they're like, hey, you know what? 4 days on would be amazing. If I still get my 40 hours, then great. And I get 3 days off. It's been a huge benefit in my business, since I started it. And it's been about a year and a half ago whenever I started it, and I haven't backed away from it, sometimes, and I'll let them know too, is it's 4 days on and a 5th day is optional. So if something comes up in their life, it's not a, hey, you cannot work that 5th day. If something comes up and you need extra money, you have that 5th day that you can just let us know, hey, I want to work, an extra day this week. But now you're only at 5 days instead of having 6 days, and then you only have 1 day off, and you're really not taking a break mentally. And I've had them hit me up on that a couple times, but normally they like their 3 days off and they keep it that way.
I'm surprised that it's not everybody working 5 days with that option. That actually surprises me.
Well, when you're working, 10-hour days, right? I mean,
Yep.
Some guys are going to want to do it and some guys are not. But I think for me, the most important part that I took out of that is being in tune with your team and being in tune with yourself as well, right? Like you've found that rhythm works a little better for you even. So it's being consciously curious, right? Like what I like that you asked the question, right? Like, well, what could work for him? Like, what's going on with him? How can I help him? And you began to look at the problem from that questioning perspective, and you found a solution through that. I love that.
Yeah, as a business owner, you just have to be flexible, on stuff. If I had someone that came in and says, hey, can I do 5 days and can I be off by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, each day? Like, sure, if that makes you happy, we're going to get the same amount of work done, in the week. Just be flexible and don't be scared to try something out of the norm. Like it may not be normal in the industry, but you make it normal and it might work out best, and my main objective was just technicians' morale, making them happier, So.
It's awesome.
EJ has said this a few times about working on the business instead of in the business. Do you know what that means? Is that something that is a normal phrase?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
So on the business is the things that makes the business productive, right? So that would be going out and looking for, I don't know, property managers, right? Going out and meeting realtors, firming up your SOPs, whether it's networking or, whatever. Those are on the business principles. In the business is you're on the road, right? It doesn't mean that there can't be times of both, but sometimes you do need to be very intentional on the business versus in the business. I spent a lot of time in the business, which led to burnout because I didn't spend as much or equal time on the business as I did in the business. It's a mindset shift between CEO, right, and technician. Sometimes you have to wear both hats, but there needs to be times where each hat comes off and there's intentional time spent. Travis, I mean, you said it earlier. Like, there's days where like you have to do things that are specifically business driven. So maybe it's taking off the technician hat and then putting on the business owner hat right away, but you're still taking that intentional time to work on the things that drive business versus taking care of customers, as it were.
Yeah, it's just sitting back and saying, what can I do to improve the business? It could be functionality. It can be growing the business, as in going out and doing PR. You have to focus on that, as a major thing. And that's where some companies fall a little short. Not saying that they're wrong, but sometimes they just don't want to grow. They're happy with what they have. But if you are wanting to grow your company, then you have to really take that time to kind of self-reflect. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect in my business, but it's like, what can I do better? As a business owner, I kind of self-reflect on, how can I be a better business owner and help my technicians out is one thing that I like to self-reflect on all the time, and then how can we do something a little bit different, in the office, about the technician morale. That's the one thing about our technician morale, is one thing that, like, I'm always wanting to be on top of, because you can always lose a technician very easily. They're hard to get, so you want to have that retention, and you want to have a good pulse on your business, on how it's running, and happy employees are going to make happy customers. And if you give a poor workspace, they're not going to give you their 100%. So that's something that that a lot of business owners just learn over time. I didn't do it at first, like I had 8 technicians and I never, really thought about the morale and just reflecting on that time whenever I grew really, really fast. Did I give a good work environment for my technicians? No. Like, I ran them into the ground. Like, they were pulling 50, 55 hours a week, and I didn't think of anything. They loved their overtime, but at the end of the day, like, man, I was just really throwing them through the ringer, and that was my goal, is, to be better as a business owner. On that self-reflect is never let it get to that point. Always know your pulse of your company and how your employees are doing. And if you need to I think it was Alex, a little bit back had, that said, hey, take time off with your employees. That's a great thing too, just to, boost up, company morale, have everyone get along. People like to work somewhere where they like the owner and the other employees, that's extremely important too. It could be just a Friday night at the bowling alley, just having fun. It could be, during a company meeting and you guys are goofing off and having fun, and you can bang out a quick little meeting, on how you want things ran, but you're enjoying each other's company. Is extremely important to me.
There it is. Scott said it. Don't forget to take some downtime with your team too. I had to go back and find the comment, but yeah, it's important. And even if you don't have a team in the business, on the business, right, Andrew, you Wednesday, right? That's your BNI day. That's on the business time, right? You're working on growing your business. So even if you don't have a team, there is still some intentional on the business time where you're working to do these things that drive business or make the business more productive, or whatever. There's there's certain functions, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a whole day, right? I shared about that earlier. You're going to have more productive times than others. So maybe your nighttime, you're a night owl and you're more productive, and that's when you're going to work on the business, right? That's the time to do that. And then, during the day is when you go and do service calls or something like that. You got to find that rhythm that works.
I need to start paying attention to on the business compared to in the business, because it's not something that I differentiate right now.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it without even knowing it. I mean, the masterminds, you being a part of the masterminds, that is working on the business. Whoever wants to watch the morning grind in the morning, that is technically working on the business. You're, improving yourself, on the business. It could be something as quick as an hour a day, got to get it in, get ideas from other people. So it makes this community awesome because we can ping ideas off of each other, and it's all working on the business.
Yep, it's good stuff, and just like you said, being intentional about doing and taking that time. That was something that I was not good at, right? Like, we learn things as we grow in business, and yeah, I was not good at defining it. I was not good at taking that time, and not good at being aware, like you said, like running your people into the ground. I was running myself just as much into the ground as I was running them into the ground, right? And so, like, I love what you said about the community. This is where you grow. If this resource was here 6 years ago, I think I might, maybe not, just because of where my passions lie, but it might have been a different story, right? Because I've learned so much just being a part of this community, just hearing other business owners share where they found success and where they found failure, right? Like, you're shortening the learning curve. Those of you guys that are newer in this, I mean, you're learning backs of giants. I'm sure Travis has had, nights in a closet somewhere, just like bawling his eyes out, like, why am I a business owner at this moment in time? Right? Like, you're getting to stand on the backs of giants. You know what I mean? Like,
I watched Justin Gandy almost break down on the way home back from Atlanta when we were down there, because there was a car accident that happened. He's like, I do not need this. This is rough. He lost it. I watched him, a grown man, break down in front of me because of how traumatizing this was at that moment. And I felt for him big time.
Yeah, I mean, being a business owner, that's why not everyone wants to be a business owner. You have so much stuff that's thrown at you. You have a lot of negative that's thrown at you. And you got to learn how to handle, the stress environment, just let it slip off you. I had a technician get in an accident too. It sucks, and they even wanted to take the vehicle away for like a month just to do an investigation because the person said that they were injured and stuff like that. It's like, why? It's still working, but then that's another obstacle that you got to jump through. It's always something. You just have to power through. When I had the 8 technicians, it was so much. I was, at that time, I was 25, and it was just so much taking. I had 8 guys. Their lives were depending on me. We were working too much. I was running them into the ground. They weren't happy. They weren't giving good service. They're having recalls. We had just so much going on that it was just so much stress that I tore it down. I grew way too fast, and I did it with home warranty companies, and just wasn't the right way to grow. If you stay within the numbers that the warranty companies want you to be in, you can have as much work as you want, but that's just not the type of work that, was good for me and the business and the morale. And I learned the hard way. I went back down to myself, running service, because that's what made me happy. Because I was like, man, I'm not making any extra money. I made just as much money when it was just myself compared to now when I had 8 technicians, but crazy more headache, and I just didn't build the building blocks like it should have been, and that's why I take everything so important on company morale because of that situation. It was just a nightmare. And then finally now I'm starting to build it back up. I have 2 technicians plus myself, and then ready to hire a third, and just doing it a lot slower and doing it COD base, and have a little bit of warranty sprinkled in just so the new technicians can do warranty where I'm pre-screening, pre-ordering parts, ordering maybe a part extra that I don't need, but getting stuff, done that way.
Yeah, you begin to grow to the level of leadership that you're ready for. And if your life is chaotic and you're unorganized, then you end up with a business that's chaotic and unorganized and burns you out, right? Like, so just take those lessons, just learn those little nuggets of truth from guys that have done it, gals that have done it, and found good ways and found bad ways. Jason was on yesterday sharing some of his story, and he's done it multiple different ways. Right now he's just a solo guy, and he's helping his wife build my office help. So it all depends on what you want to do and what your vision is. No one is shooting or cutting on you, but just asking you to be curious about what's possible. So I love it, guys. This has been a great conversation.
I know you said you're on a bit of a time crunch.
I am going to have to get moving here, get ready for the reset and into the next one. But it's been fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I look forward to hanging out with you guys again and having more conversation again. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow. It's Ask Us Anything. I know EJ will be on. I don't think TK will be around. I'm not sure who else is going to be on with EJ, but tune in tomorrow for Freestyle Friday. Ask Us Anything. In the meantime,
it sounded like a great interview too. A company owner that went from employee to owner, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Michael Sanford. That's going to be really cool. He worked at a striping company, like road safety striping for like 35 years, and then he was doing kind of like EJ did, where he worked for another company and then was doing it as a side hustle, and now is as of yesterday stepped into it full time. So yeah, Mike Sanford. So it'll be a good time. Good time tomorrow. Ask us anything tomorrow, and ask Mike good questions about what that kind of looked like. So thank you guys. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you guys' time as always, and catch you guys tomorrow.
See you next time.
Peace.
Thank you. Bye guys.